Welcome to the Michigan Football Report. Ladies and gentlemen, we are T-minus 2 weeks to Michigan football at Notre Dame, September 1st. We've got a segment that a lot of people really like, Michigan football, true and false. Been doing great on Facebook Live, very good on YouTube. Let's take a look at our first question, 1 of 10 for Michigan football, true or false. So how we're going to play this game, I'm going to ask the question, then I'm going to ask you guys, then I'm going to give my answer at the end. Comments below. I've got some different letters you type in. You don't have to type in true or false, although you could, but so we can calculate them, so we can keep it easy. Type in the letter or the number that we ask for with each question. First question, will Jim Harbaugh be Michigan's head coach in 5 years from now? And the reason this one comes up is Jim Harbaugh is going into his 4th year as Michigan's head coach, and for as short of a time that seems, that is in 4 years. His entire tenure at Stanford, his entire tenure at the 49ers, 4 years at both schools, and his entire tenure at San Diego, the school he coached before Stanford. He was only there for 3 years. So I want to know from you guys, type 1 for true, type 2 for false. Will he make it 5 years from now? But maybe the better question could even be, will he be the coach in year 5? Well, that is 1 year from now. I don't think Jim Harbaugh is leaving anywhere. I think he's found his home. I think that Michigan fans will support him almost to the ends of the earth. And so for this one, 1 for true, 2 for false. You guys let me know. I'm going to say it is true that Jim Harbaugh is going to coach at Michigan until he retires. I don't think necessarily that the allure of the NFL or another job at anywhere will be enough to pull him away from his alma mater, from the team that he grew up rooting for. So I say true, and want to tell you about these amazing shirts. I was called Handsome James on YouTube in the comments a while back, and it's because of these shirts from Mizzen and Main. Take a look at their website below me, comfortable.af. They are the official clothing provider for the gents over at Chat Sports. So all the guys you see on our shows are wearing Mizzen and Main shirts. Most guys wearing button-up. I wear a little casual because it's the weekend. This bad boy is smooth. It feels great. Feels like a workout shirt, but it really is a kind of 3-button dress shirt. Next, true or false question. Will Shea Patterson be first-team Big Ten quarterback in 2018? So want to know from you guys. Get the votes going on this one. Type Y for true. Type N for false. A little, yes, no perspective on that one. So will Shea Patterson be the first-team Big Ten quarterback in 2018? It is interesting because there's Trace McSorley, there's Brian Workey, there's the quarterback at Wisconsin whose name is escaping me at the moment, and this film right here that was put out on the Big Ten Network and some Michigan football social media accounts in the last week is really the first time we've seen Shea Patterson throw a ball in a Michigan football uniform, with how secretive Michigan was in spring camp, how secretive they've been so far in fall camp. Only real insiders like me I can get the true info for you. So, Shea Patterson, the talent, of course, Michigan or the Big Ten doesn't have all the big quarterbacks back, but they do have a few. J.T. Barrett has obviously moved on. He is no longer at Ohio State. He played there for 19 years, I believe. So Barrett, Connor Cook from Michigan State, Barrett, and of course Braxton Miller. There's one key component here with all Big Ten quarterbacks. It's pretty much been whoever's quarterback to Ohio State outside of the year that Michigan State went to the playoffs. So type Y for true, type N for false. Will Shea Patterson be the first team all Big Ten quarterback? Yoder says false. I don't think he will be. Not because of his talents, not because of anything. I'm trying to be a hater or anything like that. I just don't think that Michigan is going to feature him. He's going to put up the stats that maybe some of these other quarterbacks, most notably Trace McSorley, maybe Lewerke, will be able to put up, as they are getting more featured on their offense than Shea Patterson will likely be the true featured quarterback where he's throwing 55 times a game, like potentially some quarterbacks around the country and maybe even in the Big Ten could do with success. So next one, want to ask you guys a question. We are considering doing something different this year. Would you want to watch the game with me? Would you tune in to a watch party show where it'd be basically graphics and questions and the stats and the score of the game, just like you get in the Michigan Football Report here? Would you want to watch the game from kickoff all the way through the end of the game, and then we'll kind of take a short break and show you all the highlights from every Michigan football game? Comment below. Would you watch a game with me? If I get enough yeses, if it's more than 50%, we're going to do this bad boy. You're going to see me, how I react. I might just be swearing, dropping F-bombs, drinking beer. You never know what'll happen. Comment below. Follow me on Twitter at James Yoder. You can tell me there whether you want to see me watch the Michigan football games. I'll be at a few of them, but not all of them. All right, next, true or false, will Karan Higdon and Chris Evans, Michigan's starting running back and 1B running back, will they combine for 2,000 yards rushing this year? Want to know from you guys before I start talking. A for true. B for false. Will these guys combine for 2,000 yards? Now, it's happened a few times recently that Michigan's had two players combined for 2,000 yards rushing, but it's been Denard Robinson on there on both lists. And so we have to go back all the way to 1992 until you've got a pair of Michigan running backs that combined for 2,000 yards. When I saw this, we put the stats together, I'm like, wait a second. Check 1994. You had two guys who were, I think both first-round draft picks. Tyrone Wheatley, Biaka Batuka certainly was a first-round draft pick, top 10 pick to the Carolina Panthers. Those guys combined for over 2,000 yards. Obviously, this is a mistake. No, they didn't. They combined for about 1,850, 1,900 yards. Weren't even within 100 of 2,000. It was 700 something plus 1,100 something for Wheatley with 1,100 and Biaka Batuka as his backup with 700 something yards. So Ricky Powers got on there. You've got Tyrone Bowles and Horde in 1988 with 2,160. So 3 times in the last 30 years, but it's been 25, 26 years since Michigan has had this. So I want to know from you guys. Type A for true. Type B for false. I'm going to give my answer here in just 1 second. Harris, toss my answer up on the screen. I'm going to say true. They're going to break the mold, and it's going to be because of Ed Warner and this revamped offensive line and the talent of Shea Patterson to hold those linebackers and safeties from coming down and crashing down on the line and giving these guys a little bit of room. So Higdon and Evans, both, I think they got off to a slower start. Ty Isaac is not going to be taking the carries like he was last year, but the Minnesota game and a few others, these guys combined is a little bit of a thunder and lightning combination that I think it is likely to happen. I see Karan Higdon getting 1,300, 1,200 yards, and then potentially Chris Evans adding in there. Although Chris Evans may get more catches like you're seeing here, I think it will happen. They'll end up with about 2,200 yards in the 2018 season. So they're going to break about a 26-year streak where Michigan has not had two running backs. Denard Robinson did it with Toussaint, but since two running backs got over 2,000 yards combined. So I am saying true. Next up, true or false, will Zach Gentry have 40-plus catches in 2018? Type 1 for true, type 2 for false. So this is one that it's just a little surprising to me. Now, Jake Butt obviously had some success with here, but Michigan has not had recently a lot of receivers, especially in the past 10 years, that have achieved these levels of catches. So Butt at All-American only got 46 and 51. 51 as a junior, 46 as a senior. Gentry last year, 17 catches. Do we think he's going to make the jump from 17 up to 40 plus, 3.5, 4 catches a game with Sean McCune taking the snaps, with the running backs getting carries, with Shea Patterson running every once in a while, a talented wide receiver crew? I am going to say false. I've got him pegged for 25 or so catches, maybe 30 on a good day. I don't think he will get that number of catches this year, 40 or more. I told you about Mizzen and Maine. The commercial that we're going to show next went viral with Phil Mickelson. When we come back from this commercial break, I'm going to be dancing, so stay tuned for that. Oh, we're back. I was just dancing on there with my main man, Phil Mickelson. Been rumored that I might be the next guy here in the Michigan Football Report to do that commercial for Mizzen and Maine. I've got the moves. Don't be hating in the comments section. I think I could be the guy for Mizzen and Maine. Comfortable.af will get you the most talked about dress shirt in the world. I am wearing one of them. This is more and more casual shirts that feels amazing. Next up, true or false, Michigan will be ranked in the top 4, which of course is the criteria for making the college football playoff. Will they be ranked in the top 4 in 2018? Now, 2016, they were obviously ranked in the top 4 several times. Most notably, at the end of the year, they were number 3 when they played Ohio State, a 3-2 game. They were there a couple weeks prior to that, before that Iowa loss. So it's happened under Jim Harbaugh. But prior to that, 2016, you had to go all the way back to 2006 till Michigan got in the top 5, top 4. So it is not necessarily particularly likely, but it is possible. We see there 2016, a 10-year gap, the 10 years of tears outside of maybe 2015, 2011 in there. Then you've got 2005. Then you've got 2003. Then you've got 2000, all when they were ranked in the top 4. So even though history doesn't tell us it's likely. It was a 10-year gap, and then the second half of the 2016 season, they were in and out of the top 4. I am going to say true, and it'll be about week 6 or 7 into the season, going into that Wisconsin game in October. We've got Wisconsin and Michigan State in back-to-back weeks. I think that'll actually be a top matchup of top 4 teams, Michigan, Wisconsin, both undefeated. Michigan gets past Notre Dame early. I think they beat Nebraska at home, and when they get into the middle of the season, they'll be undefeated. I think it'll be 6-0 going into Game 7. Maybe I'm off by a game there, but I think that'll be the chance. If they win those games, of course, they're going to continue to be in the top 4 and even could lose a game and stay in the top 4 should they get past Notre Dame, Wisconsin, and Michigan State going to the last 3 or 4 games of the year undefeated. So I am going to say truth. Have a question for you guys that's not true or false, because this question was out there a lot on social media in the past few days. Which is the better football team? 2016, a team that rose all the way to number 2 in the rankings at one point, lost to Iowa, won a game against Indiana, then lost that nail-biter, JT was short, against Ohio State, only to falter in the bowl game with Jake Butt and Jabril Peppers, maybe the best 2 players in the team, missing it. Were they a better team than this 2018 coming up? And where does this kind of come from? Take a look at this tweet from former Michigan tight end, fullback, we don't know what he was, Khaled Hill. He's on Twitter at ThatBoyLid80. He says, our 2016 team was the best Michigan team ever assembled. I'm going to start talking slow because if you believe this, what he's saying there, you need me to talk slow. He says, despite a late night in Iowa, JT being short and not having enough time in the last one, but yeah, don't at me. Khaled, come on, man. If you want to say that's the best Harbaugh team, I think this 2018 team might give you a run for your money, might rank higher than that. But Khaled Hill is saying that Michigan's the best team of all time. They lost 3 out of the last 4 games. You got to be kidding me, Khaled. So I want to know from you guys, 2016, 2018, which is the better team? I'm going to say 2018. I'll get in the comments with you guys here in a moment after the show. But what do you guys think? 2016, 2018, the better Michigan football team, the best team under Jim Harbaugh. We want to know from you. Comment below. Michigan football, true and false, rolling on here. Will a team throw for over 300 yards against Michigan in 2018. Now, why do I ask this question? Because no one's done it in 2 years under Don Brown. As Michigan's defensive coordinator, he has not allowed a 300-yard passer, which is pretty surprising. Now, type A for true if you guys think it'll happen. Type B for false. I think most people are going to just be littering the comment section, Facebook Live and YouTube with B because they have so much confidence in this defense. I think it possible could happen. If it happens, I think it'll be Michigan State or Ohio State in a game that's just one of these games where it's everyone's scoring, like Ohio State's been in the last few years several times, or a Michigan State game where Michigan gets up big potentially and Michigan State has to come back. But I am going to ultimately say false. I think 300 yards is a big number for any quarterback in college, and I don't think they're going to do it against this Don Brown defense. With as many as 6 or 7 guys, I think ultimately can be first or second round draft picks, many of them in the 2019 NFL draft. All right, Michigan football, true or false? Next question coming up. Will Michigan throw for 400 yards in a game? This used to be a number that Michigan football fans couldn't even think about when Tom Brady threw for 375 against Alabama in January 1st, 2000. That was the record. And then we went many years through multiple highly talented quarterbacks like John Navarre and Chad Henne in the last 5 or 6 years that Michigan started to break these records a little bit. Denard Robinson, Devin Gardner's up there, Jake Rudock's up there with some of the better passing performances in Michigan football history. Will Michigan throw for over 400 yards a game? We've got this graphic. I'll go through them really quickly. Devin Gardner at 503. Gardner's got the second one at 451. Those are games that Michigan absolutely had to throw the ball. We got John Navarre in there. I mentioned him. Tom Brady. So will Michigan throw for over 400 yards a game? Will Shea Patterson most notably throw for over 400 yards a game? One more time. 1 for true. 2 for false. I say true. It's going to happen. Shea Patterson is too talented of a player to not throw for over 400. If you look at his stats at Ole Miss, a lot of times they're coming from behind or having to throw a lot to score. But Shea Patterson is the kind of guy who can throw for 400. He might even throw for 500 like he did as a true freshman sophomore. 7 out of his 10 starts, he's thrown for over 300-yard games. So he's got the arm, certainly has the accuracy, can place the ball downfield to do it. And I think there'll be a game or two where Michigan absolutely has to throw the ball more than Harbaugh probably wants to, and Shea Patterson will be able to deliver a 400-yard game. Take take a look at this graphic. It is Jim Harbaugh, and he is mad that you haven't been watching the Michigan Football Report on YouTube, the #1 YouTube channel for Michigan football, part of the Chat Sports TV at Chat Sports TV on YouTube. We are crushing it on YouTube. Over 10 million viewers a month across YouTube, Facebook Live as well. Our stuff's on podcast. Take a look today. Type in that URL. It'll take you directly to the page that you can watch the Michigan Football Report. Subscribe to Chat Sports, and you will get all of our alerts. Next question. Michigan football, true or false? Brandon Peters will start a game in 2018. Now, you could say, sure, he's going to be the starting quarterback if you're crazy like that one guy at the Mitten, Adam Big Ears or something like that. Brandon Peters is going to be your starter. He's competing for the job. It is Shea Patterson's job. Don't let anyone tell you. Don't let anyone spread any fake news. The blog boys want to write about everything. They're trying to talk about this competition that is coach speak. There is no chance that anybody but Shea Patterson will get the start unless he is hurt. I think we're going to roll some film here. If I need to shut up, Harris, just throw up a hand for me. But this is the film from Michigan football, Shea Patterson and some others.
And it's happening at that position, and I'm seeing it every day. So, and none more evident than at the quarterback position right now.
So assess that spot for us. Where does it stand with those guys?
Like I said, the competition has been very good, and the thing I don't see anybody backing off, and that's a great thing. You don't see anybody that is, said uncle yet, and they're grinding every day. So it's going on.
All right, so there you have it. Jim Harbaugh talking about the quarterback competition. It is coach speak galore coming from the Michigan. Chris Evans was asked about the quarterback position to media a couple nights ago, and he literally, while he was talking, said blah, 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 because he was so sick of giving this canned answer, but I guess that's how Michigan is doing it. The submarine, some have called it. I say false. Brandon Peters will not start a game this year. Now, I have put Brandon Peters back as your backup quarterback. He's had a nice last week and a half since my last show where I said Dylan McCaffrey's taking the backup snaps. Now, Peters has emerged. He's your backup now. But if Shea Patterson is down for multiple games, I think Michigan looks to the future, and you may see a Joe Milton or McCaffrey get the snaps for multiple games. Now, Peters got the playing time, but I ultimately don't think he's going to do it. But it comes to another question. This is probably the more important question with relation to what I was just talking about. Who's going to be Michigan's backup? Who will be the backup quarterback in 2018 for Shea Patterson, your unquestioned starter, despite what some of the blog boys are trying to do to get their 400-page views per article? 1 for Peters, 2 for McCaffrey, 3 for Milton. Who is it going to be? I'm going to go for 1 for Peters. Getting the snap is what I'm going to say, but I actually think if Shea Patterson went down for an extended time, you might see McCaffrey or Milton, because I think those guys are more likely to compete in 2019 or 20 whenever Shea Patterson decides to go on to the NFL and clearly be the #1 pick in the draft. True or false? David Long and Lavert Hill will combine for 10-plus interceptions. It almost never happens in Michigan football history. It's been a number of years. Will they combine for 10-plus interceptions? This is a tough one for me to say because I think these guys are two of the most talented cornerbacks in the country. Maybe the best combo Michigan's had in a long time, potentially ever. Type A for true. Type B for false. We're on Facebook Live. We're on YouTube. Want to know from you guys in the comment section. Hey, battle back and forth. Talk some trash to your fellow Michigan fans who disagree with you on this one. But for this one, I am going to say false. And that's just because, look, they have not produced those kind of interception numbers. Last year, Jordan Lewis and Channing Stribley didn't even put these kind of numbers. It's very difficult to get 5 interceptions for 2 guys in college football. So I don't think it's a chance that it could happen. But I got this question posed to me. Couldn't fit it in Michigan football mailbag. So put it here as a Michigan football true or false. Next, true or false, I want to know from you guys. Khalid Hudson will be the MVP of the defense. It was a guy who started off strong. Then we didn't hear from him too much in like 4 or 5 games. He kind of underperformed or just wasn't a standout. Then he came back with a fury against Minnesota, broke Michigan's tackles for loss record. I believe he had 7-8 tackles for loss and became a star in the last 3-4 games of the year. And into this year, some are projecting him to be a kind of guy who can leave early for the NFL. Some say he graded out better in 2017 at that Viper position than his predecessor, Jabril Peppers, did. So type in KH, give him some love with his initials if you think it's true. Type in F if you think it is false. Why would he be the MVP and not Rashawn Gary, Chase Winovich? Why wouldn't it be Devin Bush or some other guys? Well, I am going to actually vote this one as true. And the reason why I'm voting this one is true is because I think those guys are going to garner so much attention. He is going to have the ability to have those high tackle for loss games. They're going to bring him down in the box on plays, and he's going to be the guy who's going to be blitzing along Devin Bush. We'll see some blitzing as well. And so keep an eye out for this one. I think this is one of my wild, crazy predictions of the year. Khaleke Hudson, not Devin Bush, not Rashawn Gary, not Lavert Hill, will be Michigan's defensive MVP. Will be up there with 70, 75 tackles potentially, but I also think he'll get 15, 20 tackles for losses, 9 sacks, 7 sacks, something like that. And with that, those combined numbers, maybe 2 interceptions, will be enough to get him MVP, all Big Ten first team honors. That was Michigan football, true or false. If you're watching on Facebook, keep watching. We're going to roll it back if you missed anything. If you're watching on YouTube, we will see you later.